All right, welcome everybody. It is time to get started. Excellent. All right, lost the sound. You didn't lose it. I wouldn't say you were losing it. I like this. It's bright and early. We're going to be talking about ghost prints this morning. I'm going to bring on Brandon Chapman here in just a couple of moments. I am Don Kaufman. We're going to get started here just momentarily. So yeah, no, we're there's sound. There is sound. I'm just making sure everybody's good. Excellent. By the way, it's early and I am I'm still caffeinating this morning. So it's a good thing. Um, it is early and the caffeine is still flowing. Okay, excellent. So everybody hear me all right? So I'll be broadcasting live from I'm in Paradise Valley, in Arizona. It's a little town inside of Scottsdale. Brandon's actually going to be joining us from Utah, although I'm actually headed back to the Virgin Islands next week. I'm excited about that too. I got to get out of civilization. I've had enough of it. I've had enough of civilization here. All right. So I like it. Friday morning. Okay. There's volatility in the air. If you guys haven't looked at the marketplace this morning, it's nothing you haven't seen. So it's getting a little crazy out there. I gotta tell you though, we're killing it in positions. Okay. Just it's been good. It has been some good positions. Nevertheless, let's go ahead and get started. I'm actually fairly excited about this. Brandon has been working a long time on putting this together, and some really incredible detailed examples and trades that he's actually going to take us through today. So, without further ado, Ghost Sprint. Could seeing the unseen surge your account by 50% in 90 days? Like that. Again, I'm Don Kaufman. We'll also be joined by none other than Brandon Chapman here in just a few moments. Risk disclosure. Oh, we are not financial advisors nor broker dealer. Always throw this up here. Brandon and myself actually come from a background of obviously of not only financial markets, but specifically both thinkers from TD Ameritrade. Talk about in a minute. Copyright disclaimer. This is ours. This is not yours. One of the things I always put up here, and I always want to make sure you guys know this. If you ever need to get a hold of myself today, if you ever need to get a hold of, Brandon Chapman after today's presentation today, whatever it may be, go to support@theotrade.com. So we use a common inbox. Okay. But all you have to do is put my name in the subject line. It goes directly to me. So support@theotrade.com. They'll send it directly to me. It sends it directly to me. And please, like, if you have questions, you have comments, anything otherwise, support@theotrade.com. We are available. I do answer email constantly. Okay, got that out of the way. Housekeeping. Look, this is a skill set. Brandon's actually going to go through quite a bit. He's got some very, very detailed trades that he's going to be showing you. As such, turn off Skype. By the way, I can't wait to say this, but Skype is going away. It's going away. So what are we going to do? Turn off Signal? That was funny. Chat, whatever else is distracting you, get rid of Facebook. Okay. Is there Facebook anymore? I don't know. Look, phone's on silent mode. I'm making sure my phone's on silent mode. Kick out the kids. The dog can stay. Focus. You're going to need to focus because with Ghost Prints, there's actually a lot more than meets the eye. Next in the docket. This is a little bit about me. This is actually a great picture. I haven't seen this picture, by the way. I didn't know that they put this in here. I haven't seen this picture in years. This is actually obviously myself, Todd McCarthy. It's actually a client of ours, Pam. That's Jeff Bierman and the infamous Frankie Walsh. By the way, this guy over here is a legend from the SIBO floor. Absolute legend of the SIBO floor. He's the first broker ever in the OEX pit. This one right here, that's Jeff Bierman. Okay, he belongs to TheoTrade. He's a legend in his own mind. Todd McCarthy. Okay, Todd is actually one of the directors over at a firm called Tasty. Okay, so Todd's still around in there, and of course myself. Goes back a number of years though. I love this TD Ameritrade booth, like way back in the day. So I'll give you the literally the nickel tour because it's going to be Brandon, but I grew up around this business. I've always been around it. I had family that traded on the floor. I didn't intentionally follow in their footsteps. Okay. I was 3 weeks out of college. I went from ramen noodles in a dorm room to working with a cousin of mine, traded, and he needed a clerk. I just needed like a summer job. And I went to Chicago, and the rest is kind of history. Like, we're not going to leave. And after 18 months of trading in Chicago, um, a gentleman that I knew really well, Tom Sosnoff, introduced me to his other partner, which is Scott Sheridan, and I joined Thinkorswim. And I was really early Thinkorswim. I was in the executive team when we took the company public. I was there when we did the TD Ameritrade deal, and ran education at that point for what was 7 million TD Ameritrade clientele. And it's actually one of the trade shows that we go out, and it was great because the best thing about Thinkorswim and TD Ameritrade, like, everybody was accessible, and I hope that we continue to do that here at TheoTrade. Everybody's totally accessible, and it's such an important portion of what we do. Look, what you're going to learn here today literally comes from us being, like myself, Brandon Chapman, Jeff Bierman. We studied order flow, okay, while both at Thinkorswim and TD Ameritrade. And studying order flow basically means we studied your trade, okay? We know retail trading, okay, better than almost anybody on this entire planet. What I mean by that is we know exactly what works. Look, the buck stops here. We got to see everything that you did. I spent 15 years on the inside over there. It's phenomenal. Again, if you ever need to get a hold of me, support at theotrade.com. All right. Look, before I introduce Brandon Chapman, okay, I want to introduce the market. The market leaves clues. And this is something we have spent, okay, a tremendous amount, okay, of energy and effort to be able to not only explore, okay, this entire trading genre and logic, okay, but Brandon is kind of the foremost expert here at TheoTrade expressly on just what we're going to call ghost prints. So the market leaves clues. Say, can you see them? To start with, okay, and to kind of to paint this a little bit, you ever watched a stock set up perfectly? And I think everybody has. Now, I'm not a big market technician. Your setup is your setup. But have you ever seen a stock set up perfectly, okay, only to see it just literally collapse like moments, okay, of course, after you got in? And everybody, by the way, feel free to, to join in the horror of that one, where people are like, it was perfect, the setup, and boom, market actually, literally, the bottom falls out. Why does the market sometimes look weak, only to rip then, okay, moments later, leaving traders scrambling? And I bring this to you initially is simply put, everybody experiences this, okay? But what if you could cut through some of that chaos and spot signals, if you will, that will drive, okay, extraordinarily large moves? Um, how would your trading change if you could see some of these footprints, institutional traders, okay, before the market actually reacts? That, people, is heavily where we're headed today. Now, welcome to Ghost Prints, okay? The system that catches some of the most significant moves, the real moves. And Brandon Chapman is actually going to show us a number of real world examples of how the market literally kind of fakes everybody out, okay? But that Ghost Prints is actually seeing truth behind some of the price action that you see on the screen. And that's one of the most critical things about today is you're going to see price action on the screen, okay? And you're going to realize, okay, that these ghost prints are actually going to give you clarity beyond, okay, what you're actually seeing, okay, in terms of price action on your screen. You'll see what traders thought was happening in there, okay? Brandon's going to show you what actually happened. And there is a gaping differential between, again, what you thought was happening, okay, and what actually happening, and what Ghost Prince saw, okay, that it called perfectly. Simply put, you're never going to look back, okay, really at price action quite the same again. And that's one of the keys today is you're not going to look at price action and just assume like, Oh, the trend is my friend until the trend wildly reverses on you. Okay. You're going to be looking for ghost prints. All right. This is a 50% account surge, right? And this is literally based in recent time frame, okay, from September 9th to October 20th, 2004. This is a 50% account surge explicitly based on our ghost prints. Now, to bring them in, ladies and gentlemen, this is Brandon Chapman. Brandon, are you with us? So, to give a little background on Brandon, like I know he always has like a bio in here. Okay. Brandon, I'm like not great at like reading bios. I've known Brandon for a really long time.
It's like a
So
bio weapon.
I know it's like it's always hard to like bring somebody in with a bio that you've like known a really long time. Like, first of all, chartered market technician, which is CMT, which is incredibly difficult distinction to get. We have several of those though here at TheoTrade, but here's actually a better one. With the chartered market technician, Brandon was actually invited. He's the one who actually writes questions for the
Yeah.
test. Okay, I love to actually say that because not only is Brandon a CMT, which is incredibly important, and by the way, the reason I really like bringing up the chartered market technician is so that basically means Brandon's the guy that knows charts, okay, better than most of the guys that know charts. But then the irony is that today with ghost prints, okay, he's going to show you this chart is lying to you. And I no, I fully
Well,
appreciate
but
that.
Don, I mean, one thing in technical analysis, we know that the crowd is wrong at major turning points. And so that's kind of what we're
True.
getting at here to some of these examples.
That is absolutely true. The crowd is wrong at big turning points. They're always wrong at turning points. So Brandon actually and I, as I said, go back a ways. So I was working with Thinkorswim. We acquired another education company. Brandon was actually one of the leads at that education company. Brandon actually wrote the course manuals specifically for that other education company. And when we did that acquisition, I spent a lot of time. Okay, a lot of time with Brandon and that team there. Again, Brandon's got over 20 years in trading and market strategy. I mean, we've worked together for like what now? 15, 20 years. Like I think I met you in like
Yeah.
2007, 2008 timeframe. So you know what that really means? It means we're both getting freaking old. Anyway,
I know.
yeah, no, it's great. By the way, that's the highest distinction is okay, Brandon has been tortured by me for 15 to 20 years and has actually survived.
Well,
So
that first
yeah,
experience, so in Salt Lake, you came out. I just got back from Chicago as the Thinkorswim headquarters for a week, and just barely learning how to use Thinkorswim. And Don's up there trying to show us. I'm driving. Don's getting frustrated because I'm like, I just barely started to use this platform.
I don't know what he's doing. After 15 to 20 years of torture, he gets the stamp of the TheoTrade stamp of approval over here. Brandon, feel free to grab screen here
All
and let's
right.
let's get rolling right now because again I'm excited about this. I'll hop in here periodically on you and have at it, sir.
All right, let's get rolling. I'm going to kick things off here with a chart I think is kind of fun because Don's not liking China right now. And here's a chart where people didn't like China. This was last fall. The Chinese, I mean, we saw a big sell off, 24%. This is KWEB. This is basically the Chinese internet ETF, 24% decline in about 2 months. And when you look at this chart, I mean, what are you folks thinking? I mean, when you look at this chart, most people are thinking we're in a downtrend. We have lower highs, lower lows, if we want to borrow a technical analysis term. Retail traders are piling in puts. They're shorting the stock. Everyone's thinking it's in free fall. There's the abyss. We're going to continue to sink here. But here's what Ghost Print saw at that point in time, right? Because this gave an entirely different story at that low in November. And for our members at TheoTrade, they remember me talking about this in real time. But right here, this is a chart of KWEB, not of the price. This is a chart of the option price and the volume. And what you'll see right here coming in where that arrow is on the 25th of November, 5,300 contracts bought. These were just 6 December 31 calls. Now, if you're buying a call, what are you expecting? You're expecting the market to go higher, right? And 5,300 contracts. This is not some small, these are not retail traders, right? These are big time. This is big money coming in, buying these calls, expecting what? Expecting a rebound in KWEB. Okay. So I just showed you what traders expected, but guess what? They got crushed, right? They got
So I
crushed
love
because
I
ghost
love
traders
this
saw this.
first example because what again a lot of people don't understand of the implications over here. For the most part, what you're actually looking at, this is a size trade. You know, all the time I use a terminology, and it was even in like the bio, like we looked at order flow. This is what that means. Like the term order flow, this is
Mhm.
what order flow is, and the order flow is cutting through all of the chaos of that marketplace. Brandon is actually looking expressly at that order flow. Again, I just want to make
Yeah.
that clear because they always
And
ask me the question of like order flow. What's order flow?
right. Well, and we're not focusing on onesies and twosies, right? You know, we're not necessarily focusing on Captain One Lot, right? We're focusing on those larger institutional traders that are saying, hey, I want to trade the option instead of trading the stock. Why do they do that? Because it obscures things a little bit, right? Unless you're looking at this stuff, you're going to miss it. Okay. And that's a big deal. Here's another example. Okay. This is this is what happened with KWEB rather. A 16% increase in 9 days. Again, retail traders were crushed. Ghost Prince saw this coming. And again, you'll notice right here on the 25th, that's the low, right? So again, as we're seeing the height of selling and negative sentiment, this is where Ghost Prince popped up, materialized. We were able to see it and we were able to capture this. And how did we capture it? Well, this is one example here, 141% gain by just trading KWEB, buying at 53 and selling at $1.28. So if you didn't see this signal, essentially we're trading blind, right? These are hidden, largely untracked liquidity shifts that are happening right beneath the surface. And again, it turned it into making money at 141% gain. All right. So we're going to give a lot of examples here today of this concept, right? What Ghost Prince saw that 99% of the market didn't see at that point in time. Here's another
So
example.
I just want to
Right.
reiterate that one. So you see a huge print, on a buy side of some calls, 5,300 calls actually trade. The technicals of it look all wrong, like the thing is about to collapse. You look at the print of 5,300 calls trading over there. You decide ultimately the 5,300 calls, like money talks, right?
Right.
So money talks. He hops on board in the trade, which you can actually display the trade itself, and you actually achieve the pop to the upside. So is this a case of somebody knows something, or are you just hopping on coattails at this point?
Right. And the thing is,
Yeah.
I mean, it's, let me tell you, I mean, it's not easy just to step in and say, I want to buy KWEB amidst the chaos, right? So the idea is you don't have to know anything about the Chinese market. Okay. Well, let's just take that and set that aside. You don't have to know anything about this stuff we're talking about here today, other than the fact that you have an indication, a print that says, hey, it's time to look at it now. And again, the timing of this stuff can be very impeccable sometimes. And so again, 16% increase in 9 days. Again, we're going to talk about how to trade it, whether it's stock or options. We're going to give you a choice here. But here's another chart. Now, this is a chart of the VIX. Now, I know some of you probably don't know a lot about the VIX, but just to give you a little background on the VIX, as the market goes up, the VIX goes down. It's like a teeter totter, right? And so we're seeing right here, I mean, this is going into the end of 2024. We just had the election, we had the Trump bump, all this stuff's going on. The market's screaming higher, the VIX is going lower. And again, what retail traders is see noise. We're focused on ghost prints. Now, here's the deal, though. If I pulled 1,000 traders, and I've done this hundreds of times, but if I pulled 1,000 traders and asked them, what's going to happen right here? What are they likely to say? They're pretty optimistic on the market. They probably think the VIX is going lower. They think the market's going higher. But for seeing the future, looking into that crystal ball, it ain't easy, right? They don't know what's unseen, right? They don't know what's out there that might be a driving force for volatility going higher. And guess what happened here? We saw the VIX go streaming higher from 12 to 28 in 8 days. And many of you probably experienced that, right? The VIX, all of a sudden the VIX shoots up with that. What does that mean? The market is going down and it's going down fast. And we're not prepared for those things a lot of times. So let me show you what I saw that they didn't. So one of these prints were on the VIX, and there are actually a number of these. I'm just highlighting one of them. This was on December 9th, 2024. And it was 127,000 contracts in the VIX bought calls. So what does that mean? They're buying calls expecting the VIX to go up. If the VIX is going up, guess what? The market is going down. And Don, when I showed you that we're kind of doing this prep for this, Don's comment was, that's a big boy trade. And it is a big boy trade. Who's buying 127,000 contracts? It ain't you. It ain't me. Don, is it you?
Yeah, no, that is a big boy trade. That's that is absolutely like, it's size speaks. Size speaks. So, you're not doing 127,000 contracts. Doesn't matter why you're doing 127,000 contracts. You ain't doing it unless you are definitive, So right. It doesn't matter what you think the outcome is going to be. That speaks unto itself. That's size matters in there. No question about it. Yeah.
And what we'll find, and as we go forward in this, I mean, you'll know how this is creating momentum in the stock or the market. And again, traders got crushed. But again, ghost prints, traders caught the reversal, right? So that's the big thing we're going to point out here is that there's stuff that you can see in the background and there's ways to trade it. And again, this is a definer's trade. Hey, 182% gain based on the signals that we got from ghost prints. Okay. And so again, the opportunity's there. It's just being able to see what's going on behind the scenes that again, 99% of traders just are not aware of because they're not looking at it. They don't know how to look at it. And you're going to be on the cutting edge of this and being able to do this going forward.
By the way, this trade's a score. I like the VIX trade. I'm sorry. I just stopped you right there. I really like the VIX trade because this product is, near and dear to my heart. Like I absolutely love VIX. I love volatility. I love looking at VIX. So this one, but the contract size, and this is one that Brandon actually brought to all of our attention. Like everybody at like Theo was like looking at this and we're like, holy crap, this is some size. And it's great because we've got Brandon like sitting in the sitting in the box just watching for exactly this. So calling out trades like this, that was huge. Yep, I like it.
I'm the bird dog, right? Give me a bird.
Put Brandon in the box. Okay, we put Brandon in the box.
Put Brandon in the corner. Only baby goes in the corner, right?
No, but it's like, look, we've got them like watching for prints like this, but in a product like VIX, you guys got to realize this influences the entire marketplace. Yeah, go for it.
And you think about this, I mean, that's a trade. And again, we talk about ghost prints. It's not just one thing, right? I'm giving you 3 different examples today, but this is called the 90-day rubber band. And what was transpiring at the exact same time is we saw the rubber band was stretched. And again, I know you probably have not seen anything like this, but it's something I've used for 20 years at identifying major reversal points in the market. And when I call it the 90-day volatility rubber band, it's exactly what it is. The idea is as volatility becomes stretched, right? And it becomes stretched and stretched and stretched at some point, what's going to happen to the rubber band? The rubber band's going to break. We've all been snapped by it. The same thing happens in volatility. When you have volatility out at 90 days getting stretched relative to 30-day volatility, all of a sudden what happens, we're seeing big time expectations for an explosion in volatility. And when the volatility snaps, that's exactly what happens. And we get these scenarios. That's why, again, on February 18th, we were looking for this trade. Boom, the volatility band looked like it was just about to snap. We're looking for a 5 to 10% correction in the market with these kinds of signals. And then you start to see the other prints in the VIX. You put this stuff together. Again, think about what you could do if you had this ahead of time, right? If you saw that 10% correction we just had ahead of time, the 5% correction ahead of time, that was December. And I walked through some ideas of how to hedge it back in December 2nd in the Theo Trade site during my sessions. So I'm going to share with you 2 others today. But again, these ghost prints are unseen factors. And once you see them, you can't unsee them, right? So once you start to see these things. So let me show you another unseen ghost print. Now, we're kind of in a little bit of chaos right now, right? Tariffs are going on. I mean, the market is down. It dropped 10% recently. And I know a lot of we get a lot of emails. Don talked about, we have the common email. They routed out to us. A lot of people are really concerned about their portfolios right now. And so as we think about this, this is very similar to what we saw back in 2020. So I'm going to reach back a little bit and to show you how you can achieve calm through the chaos. And this is Tilray. Okay. Tilray, it's a cannabis stock. It was down 90% in 56 days. And I know what you're thinking, right? If you saw a chart like this, what would you be thinking? Are you going to step in at that point in time? You're probably looking at the fundamentals, you're looking at other stuff and saying, why in the world would I ever trade a stock like Tilray? Well, I'm going to show you why here in just a second, right? But if I ask the same 1,000 traders, okay, what would you do? What do you see here, right? How would you take advantage of it? It's dropping like a rock. But I'm going to show you what happened next and what Ghost Prince saw that others didn't. Those 99% of traders just didn't see. Okay. So let's talk about some of the qualities in Tilray at that point in time. Okay. And again, just think about the chaos, but we want to find calm in the chaos by looking at Ghost Prince here. So we're trying to reveal hidden signs that Ghost Prince detected early. Number one, big time call buying. Okay. Again, we're not looking for onesies and twosies. We're looking for big institutional traders that said, hey, maybe I'm not going to step into the stock right away, but I'm going to buy call options, right? I'm expecting the price to go up. And so I'm going to go in a very risk, maybe a little bit more less risk averse stance, right? Because I'm buying calls instead of buying stock, but those hidden signals are exactly what we're keying off. Another quality, and we don't have to get into short interest here, but the fact of the matter is people already sold. If you've already sold, you're going to have to buy back at some point. This is like a TNT factory ready to explode. And as the shorts are piling in, more TNTs being brought into the factory. And all we're looking is for that single match to light it. And we're going to see the explosion. Now, let's take a look at what happened, right? So we saw in Tilray, this was March 18th, 2020. Fortunately, I couldn't bring up a chart. The data and toss wasn't there. But you look right here, 5,700 contracts traded. Okay. Again, that's not retail trade. These are a significant thousands of contracts bought quickly in Tilray, right? On that particular day. And they're buying 250 calls, selling $5. What does this tell us? They're expecting the stock may go to 5 or higher. So we're expecting a very, very large move in Tilray at that point in time. And guess what happened? That is the 18th, right there at the low. Tilray exploded for a 375% move in 7 days. Now, again, I write test questions for the CMT and have for years. Okay. People that are professionals trying to gain a designation in technical analysis. Nobody's going to look at a chart and say, I want to buy right there without this. Okay. We're trying to see what's going on behind the scenes. And again, once you start to see this stuff, you can't unsee it. You're going to look for it every time. Now, let's take a look at the trade itself. A 387% gain. Okay. When you get these big moves, you can capture them by entering early. You can do it in a very defined risk manner. You have the potential to really step in. We're really expecting big moves in the underlying. Now, let's take a look at another stock here. Again, this is another one, a stock that's tanking, right? This is in the COVID crash. If you look at Energy Transfer Partners, down 74% in the first 2 months of 2020. And again, you think about it, pulling 99% of 1,000 traders, 99% of this don't touch it, right? They're looking at whether the company's going to go bankrupt. They're looking at all this other stuff. They're saying, why would I buy ET at that point in time? Now, again, we're talking about what is ghost traders? What do we step in? What do we see? And we kind of call this a squeeze quake. The idea is that you get the coupling of buying calls or puts, in this case, mostly call options, in circumstances where there's the powder keg, right? There's the warehouse full of TNT and it's ready to explode, where we're going to squeeze those shorts and the price is going to rise dramatically. So in this case, for ET, it declined 74%. This is what we saw. And again, in a lot of these circumstances, there might be more than one print around that point. There might be prints on multiple stocks. So again, we'll kind of use all this stuff here. But in this case, on April 15th, Man, is tax day coming up again? April 15th, 2020. 12,000 contracts traded. Okay. They bought the 15 May 2020 $7 calls. They're not buying it there because they don't think the market's going to go down or ET is going to go down. They're buying it because they think the stock is going to rise. And again, this is one point again where we're seeing what's going on just beneath the surface and creating an opportunity. Okay. And as we look at what happened and transpired, ET went up 150% off of the 2020 low. So in the biggest bearish market that most traders have ever seen, not everyone goes back to the financial crisis. That period of selling there was huge. Don was capitalizing on the downside of the market. Here's how to capitalize on the upside of the market. This is the reversal, right? Stock was tanking. Big and small traders were betting against it, but we saw the unseen and had an opportunity to jump on it. In this case, for a 221% gain.
So in this trade, it was obviously it was size that brings you into the marketplace, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're ultimately looking at size, you're deciphering what, pray tell, that size actually means. So one of the things I want to just go into a little bit of distinction on is just because there's big option activity doesn't mean anything. It's the investigation behind some of that options activity, that means everything, because there's some questions already popping in here, which we'll answer all the questions towards the end of the session. And I actually love that stuff because that's when the rubber kind of meets the road, along these lines. Is it's not, we're not just hunting for options activity. It's being able to actually cut through.
Yeah, this is one of them. And that's the thing is when you go out there, you look at a lot of stuff. And there's a lot of websites out there that publish option stuff, and you got to wade through a ton of crap, right? I mean, they're just pointing at everything, right? And it can be very, very overwhelming. We're going to find very targeted stuff. And when you start to see these trades and what's happening is they're moving the market intraday. So again, we're going to define the process, but I'm giving you the highlights here of what the potential is, but we'll get down to the nitty gritty. And again, we're going to curate this stuff. We're going to find some of these. I'm going to be spoon feeding this stuff to you every single day. So let's take another one here. This is XHB. And we think about this. I mean, XHB was rolling into that high in August, right? It went 33% off of its March low. And again, at this point in time, you might say, it's a little overextended. But the reality is, again, most traders are waiting for the move to happen before they ever look at it. And so what happens right here, people are buying right here, right? This is where people are stepping in, putting their hard-earned money to work at the exact point when it's about to fall back. And I'm going to highlight in this case a number of different trades that occurred. So if you were bullish on home builders going into that peak there, all of these red arrows represent significant bearish trades, ghost prints that occurred on August 2nd. And these give all the dates here. Now I'm going to highlight one of them. Okay. But right as you think that, man, this is the time to buy home builders, it's done really well, you're encouraged by it, 99% of traders saying it's going to continue higher. And then all of a sudden we get slammed with multiple prints over the next few weeks. So here's one we're going to outline here. This was August 2nd, 2023, right at the peak. And what happens is what's happening, they're buying 68 and 70 puts. So again, 8,000 contracts, 10,000 contracts. We're doing a little bit of behind the scenes work after we see these prints to verify we think that they're buying calls, they're buying puts, whatever it is, right? We're going to show you how to do that. But in this case, this is significant size coming in. Okay. And again, once you see this stuff, you're not going to unsee it because what you're seeing is what 99% of traders don't. And what proceeded from that time forward, XHB fell 19% to its October lows. And even right here, you're thinking, okay, we're going back up again. XHB, we're getting a big up day right before the end of August. But again, it was fool's gold, right? We felt we continued to sink and continue down to that 19% decline. Okay. And so again, Ghost Prince followers are seeing this stuff in real time. Okay.
By
but
the
the
way, I
vast
love that
majority of traders
example.
don't.
If you could go back to slide like 35, I absolutely
Yeah.
love this example because this is exactly like people are asking in chat right now too. They're like, how could you possibly have known his investigation? He's looking at open interest. He's looking at the actual size of the trade.
Yeah.
He's actually looking at the print itself. We're looking at time and sales. Like there is so much work that goes into this. I got to tell you, in terms of, you know, work to go into a trade prior to the actual execution of the trade, this thing kind of takes the cake. I mean, Brandon's like, you got to look at like dividends. You got to look at everything. You got to look at like when the earnings are coming. You got to look at technicals. You got to look at the open interest. It just goes on and on and on and on. Okay. Was this done as one trade? Was it done as multiple trades? Is somebody trying to
Yeah.
hide something? It's all part of it. Continue,
And
Brandon.
and the thing about this is that, you know, to analyze this stuff, there's a few step process you want to go through. And so, but the thing is what we're going to talk about, and we'll talk about how the screeners included with this, but the idea is we can just cut through it and find, again, a sampling that you can go through every day. And again, we're going to be curating these. I'm going to be throwing out this stuff every single day. So again, whether you want to search for it, I'm going to teach you how to do it as we talk about, but the idea is that, look, it's there. It's not a complicated process, but there's a couple of steps you want to look through. But in this case, we saw them buy quickly. Oftentimes they're buying it in one trade. I mean, if they step in and buy 8,000 contracts in one trade, buy 10,000 contracts in one trade, and you see it impacting the price, guess what? You know it's buying, right? You know it's significant. And so again, all we're saying is let's just look at this stuff rather than not seeing it, right? Once you start to see this stuff, you're going to want to continue to look at it. And for XHB, trading one of those prints was a 76% gain in 2 days. So in this case, we're basically taking that as a notification saying, hey, we're bearish. We're looking for the price to go down, and then we're capitalizing on it by trading it. Okay. You can trade stocks. You can trade options. Any way you want to do it. This is an option trade that I put on. All right, let's look at another one. I'm going to set this up here just a little bit. I was on with Garrett this morning, Don. It's kind of fun, actually. He does a great job. But at this point in time, we had a scenario where gold was building. Okay. Back in 2023, gold was hitting 2000 multiple times, couldn't break through it. And all of a sudden, we're starting to see this is gold stocks, GDX. It's an ETF that tracks gold stocks. We're seeing the selling going into early October. Right as people are giving up on gold breaking 2000, this is what popped up at that point in time. And again, we're talking about what most of the market is seeing. This is what they're trading. You're looking at this chart. You're saying gold is going to fail. Gold is a barbarous relic. I'm going to borrow a term from from Warren Buffett. But this is what's actually going on behind the scenes here. This is October 4th, 2023. Again, these are gold stocks, GDX. 11,000 contracts traded at the 28 and 30 strike. They bought the 28s and they sold the 30s. The price at that time, these are out of the money. They're expecting a big move in a very short period of time. And again, what happened? So let's take a look at the chart here. This is the low down here, October 4th. Gold, GDX rather, proceeded to increase by 25% in October to November. And I didn't show the print, but there was another print coming in here in mid-November, and I traded both of those ghost prints, and you'll see the results right here. Off of the October print, again, a 72.5% return in 5 days. Off of the November print, I traded December contracts, a 73.5% return in 13 days. So
Yeah, these
again,
are just
go ahead.
absolutely huge moves, though, in such short periods of time. I mean, so you have this incredible move in a short period of time. In fact, I'm actually going to go back to that trade for just a moment here, specific to GDX, which again, you know, with a thoroughly vetted print of that magnitude over here is pretty clear and is exactly the opposite, if you will, of what we were actually seeing in terms of price action in the chart at that moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, I mean, what people have to understand, like, ghost prints reveal breakouts that just rip traders apart, that fake traders out, short sellers getting trapped, explosive moves that literally seem to come out of nowhere. Okay. And we've seen that over and over again today. I mean, this is what Brandon has been working on for years. And feeds us this information, us being some of the other instructors here at Theo. The market sets a trap, traders fall for it. Ghost prints, okay, cuts through that, positions you behind this, like the scenes with full VIP. It's optics, if you will, to trades that are going on that may actually take the other side of what you're seeing inside of the marketplace at that point in time. Look, why do traders keep getting faked out? Most traders are going to rely on, because there was conversation about this, most traders are going to rely on indicators that lag behind price. What that basically means is that any indicator that you look at, literally any indicator that you look at, even forward-looking indicators, is all based, on price action. So it's driving 100 miles an hour looking through the rearview mirror, and that's predominantly priced in, gut feelings instead of real data. And you got to understand that ghost print is it's skin in the game. It doesn't follow the herd. It follows, forces moving markets. And that's the one biggest differentiating factor between ghost prints and any, quote unquote system, especially in technicals, is that, again, it is a skin in the game. Whenever I talk about skin in the game, there's trades going off over here. We were talking about that VIX trade earlier, Brandon. That VIX trade was 127,000 contracts, 127,000 contracts in a VIX product. People are like, wow, the VIX is only at 16. The VIX is only at 20. 127,000 contracts in one of the most wildly volatile products known to the marketplace is huge. And that's what I talk about with skin in the game. What if you could see through that before everyone else? And again, imagine if when a breakout is actually real. There are going to be breakouts. They're going to be met, confirmed, if you will, with ghost print. And when it's a trap, when a sell-off, it's panic selling or the start of a deeper drop. This is actually very reminiscent. And, we've talked about this before, but even coming into the financial crisis, we were watching this stuff coming into the financial crisis. We saw people trading tens of thousands of puts in Bank of America, tens of thousands of them. They're just buying them and buying them and buying them. We're like, coming down. When a squeeze is building and before it explodes. There's actually crescendo of order flow coming into a squeeze. That, people, is the goal of ghost prints every single day.
And you mentioned financials. I mean, you're talking financials on Wednesday going up. You're wanting to get bearish, right? On Wednesday. I mean, and at that time, I'm looking at XLF and you're seeing the prints come in. I talked about it during Wednesday, my session. I posted some of those ghost prints early during your session, and you're just seeing it unfold in real time. And again, it helps create the backdrop to say, okay, it wasn't yesterday, but now today is the time to get short or bearish on XLF, at least on Wednesday. And so again, the stuff is going on all the time behind the scenes, and it's just starting to just kind of turn your attention to it. We talk about the 90-day volatility rubber band. What we're keying into is, what are institutions anticipating? If they're hedging very, very significantly, I want to hedge, right? If they're expecting high volatility in the next 30 days, I want to be aware of that. I want to be notified, so at least I can make some decisions, right? So again, this is the GDX trade here. But the idea that ghost prints reveal a few things, right? They reveal breakouts that fake traders out, right? You're going one way and the market is going a different way. Sell-offs that trap short sellers. Again, what's a short? They sell a stock, they got to buy it back. When they get trapped and all of a sudden they've got to buy back quickly, that stock can really move. That's double your pleasure with the squeeze quake. Explosive moves that seem to just come out of nowhere. But again, oftentimes you'll find these indications that are going on behind the scenes that nobody's really looking at, or very few people are looking at, or know how to. So we've seen it over and over today.
So with these ghost prints, as I'm going through over here, you're even seeing price action even as recent as obviously this week. And this week there's actually been a lot, and we've been talking about that constantly throughout the course of the week. There's a lot of price action going on this week. And interestingly enough, like this week, we've actually seen lower amounts of trade activity. So any of the prints actually, they stick out like a sore thumb. One of the aspects in here is ghost prints. This is the edge you need in this marketplace. It's a powerful system that literally is uncovering, if you will, market signals, and those market signals in this case, It's option order flow.
Yeah.
Trade alerts, okay, based on institutional positioning, unusual volume, price distortions, okay, built for regular traders, though, who want to stop guessing and start seeing truth behind some of the trade and cut
Yeah.
through some of the noise. So introducing, okay, Ghost Print, the 90-day challenge. The mission, 50% account surge in 90 days. So it's a big mission that is going to be led by Brandon Chapman, CMT, weekly trade breakdowns and guidance, okay, using Ghost Print signals, okay? Master the hidden clues that signal explosive market moves. All right, this is actually what you get with the 90-day challenge here, specifically in Ghost Prints. So this is anywhere between 2 to 3 high probability trade alerts per week. I'm going to stop right there. I'll explain these in detail, but there's going to be 2 to 3 trades that are coming out specifically from Brandon, predicated exclusively on Ghost Prints per week. We say 2 to 3. Look, this is actually highly variable dependent upon market conditions. I can tell you one thing is throughout the course of this week, Brandon's hit me with actually probably almost a dozen in this last week of trade, because this last like 2 weeks really kind of flattened out a little bit. And they're like, there's prints going off, there's prints going off. And here we are today, effectively moving. So 2 to 3 high probability trade alerts per week. It's $2,000 value. Ghost Prints, custom TOS scanner. Okay, so this is actually using the same kind of technology it is that Brandon initially looks at. Okay, initially, it's not everything. That's actually why Brandon's also going to do a 2-hour masterclass on Ghost Prints trading. One of the things, and we'll get into more detail about this in a moment, but one of the things about masterclass, it's not just Brandon feeding you 2 to 3 trades a week. Everybody in the chat room right now, okay, they're asking the right questions. They're asking like, well, how do you know it's an opening trade? Well, he's going to be looking at the open interest. How do you know it's this? Well, he's going to look at this. How do you know it's not a dividend? These are the right questions to ask. The 2-hour masterclass is actually going to take you through Brandon's checklist. Like, how do you know there's validity behind the print that you're seeing? You got to figure out if it's an opening and closing position in there, right?
Absolutely.
And those are big.
So, and that's the thing is 2 to 3 trades a week. But here's the deal. I mean, we're going to have a dedicated chat room. And I'll feed you more options, more of these Ghost Print type trades and others, right? We've talked about 3 different kinds here, but the idea is that I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to post a video. We can chat about it in the side chat. We'll meet together and talk about it weekly, but we're going to kick things off obviously with our 2-hour masterclass.
So the 2-hour masterclass is then actually going to lead into literally a 12-week mastermind. So again, what you've actually got here is you pretty much Brandon for 90 days. Okay. It's not just 90 days and like, here, let's put out a couple of trades. It includes a full masterclass, a 2-hour masterclass. Then, okay, you've actually got a 12-week mastermind. Now, I'm going to go through all of the dates and times because that's obviously imperative to many of you. When is this thing actually going to kick off? 2-hour live masterclass. Again, I'll give you the dates for that just momentarily. So grab a pen and paper. 12-week mastermind. Okay. Everything is going to be recorded. If you cannot make it live, they're going to be recorded. Then we actually talk about Ghost Chat. That's an exclusive member community. It's $1,000 value in addition to that. Okay. The total retail value is about $7,000. It's $1,000 today. It's $995. I bring this up like just a 12-week mastermind. Okay. Is a phenomenal like course to actually go through with Brandon. The insights that you guys are actually going to get it there, okay, are going to be incredible. If you follow me over to the page right now, okay, it's theotrade.com/ghost. And we actually posted that inside of the chat room, theotrade.com/ghost. One aspect, and I'm bringing this up early in here, okay, as you guys scroll down to the bottom of the page and you're enrolling, make sure to put a valid email. I know that you guys, like you Mac or whatever, you can like hide your email address. Put a valid email address in there because we're actually firing the trades out via email. Put a valid phone number in there because we're also firing them out via text. So we actually just fully blitz these messages out when he's going to execute a trade. Okay. So put a valid email, put a valid phone number in there that we can actually get a hold of you. So I'm going to go into quite some detail about each one of these though, but obviously your goal, okay, is to surge the account by 50% in 90 days using the exact same method that Brandon does. I mean, that's the ultimate goal for obviously your 90 days with Ghost Prints. Now, to get to some specifics, 2 to 3 high probability trades, okay, alerts per week. So ultimately, what Brandon's going to be doing is actually filtering through the criteria for Ghost Prints. Okay, that is something he's going to describe to you in the course. So he's actually going to take you through a 2-hour class and look, this is exactly what Ghost Prints is. Here's actually the checklist. Okay. So not only is he giving you 2 to 3 high probability trade alerts per week, okay, but after a period of time where he's actually spoon feeding you the trades, you're gonna be able to feed yourself. You're gonna be able to cut through exactly like he does. Okay. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I use Brandon's stuff. I use Brandon's stuff all the time. We're all looking at it because he's constantly in okay, at Theo Trade, we have like an internal chat system where myself and we talk to Brandon and Jeff Bierman and and Garrett and everybody, and Corey's in there and Tony's in there. Okay, Gianni's in there. We're always talking amongst ourselves. Okay, Brandon is usually diligently going like 100,000 in the VIX. You had a random one like earlier in the week too, and I was like, really? I don't think I've ever looked at that underlying before, but I did, and it's actually kind of cool because I never looked at that underlying before, but all of a sudden this huge print goes off. That print is big enough to actually catch my attention on a stock that I never traded before. But look, if it's relative, trade it. Okay. Look, he's actually going to curate these trades. It's Brandon himself actually sending the trades out, stocks and option alerts. There's going to be times, okay, where there'll be an option trade in a rather illiquid marketplace, like this huge option trade goes off. He may actually have to revert back to stock. That's not the end of the world. Okay. It's not the end of the world. We're trying to keep you out of illiquid trades. So this is based predominantly on institutional activity, okay, and hidden footprints. One thing I'm going to tell you guys that is not easily seen is that anybody can see like 127,000 contracts, okay? What happens if the trader comes in with algorithms? What happens if the trader actually comes in there and says, oh, magic computer, okay, buy me one call, okay, every X amount of seconds for the next, 32 minutes. And all of a sudden that trade can amount to like 30,000 contracts. So we're actually looking for algorithmic order flow as well, which is just basically computer program trading that's actually breaking the trades up into small little chunks and accumulating, okay, in small chunks. That's actually hidden market footprints, okay? Again, this is designed for maximum upside with controlled risk. Most of the trades that he's going to do are going to be option positions, and those option positions are more often than not going to be completely defined risk. There's no guesswork. It's actionable, high probability trades. That's $2,000 value, and that's actually a portion, of course, of this 90-day challenge inside of Ghost Prints. All right, 2-hour live masterclass. This is coming Tuesday, April 8th. So obviously, okay, there's trades that are going to be starting immediately. Brandon is not going to wait until April 8th. Everybody asked that question. He's not going to wait, okay? Fire at will. After actually enrolled today, you'll start getting some of these signals. I mean, today is Mr. Toad's wild ride. Nevertheless, okay, coming into next week, I think you should expect some signals. And that's okay to trade on them even before, okay, the April 8th course. So it's a live session that he's going to be doing. It's 2 hours. Of course, it is recorded. Okay, everything we do here is recorded. In fact, it's cool because it's recorded and you can play it back. Okay, at 2 times the speed. Brandon will sound like a chipmunk. You'll love it, but it's a deep dive into the exact trading system behind the alerts. It's going to give you a definitive feel for what really Ghost Prints are, how to read the markets, okay, and those footprints. Q&A session with Brandon Chapman. Okay, you'll also be able to go back and say, hey, Brandon, I didn't completely understand this. What am I looking at over here? Okay, that is part of the 2-hour course in here. Again, it's all completely recorded, be available to you if you cannot make it live. Although I'll tell you at least from my perspective, I try to go to all the classes live. I just get more out of them, okay? Because I just know instinctively that it is live. It's kind of like watching like a football game like the day after. It's all wrong. It's all wrong to me. It literally is. Like it bothers me to no end. I literally try to make time and cut through it, try to make the class live because it's I don't know, it's just more insightful at those times because I'll interact, with even with Brandon while he's doing these classes, and you should too. $1,000 value, again, that's included today. Or after that, you've actually got a 12-week mastermind. And the mastermind, okay, you're like, what? 12 weeks? Okay. It's 12 weeks. It's an hour session. Okay. Okay. Each week. And again, this actually is going to kick off after the class. So I apologize. That one's actually supposed to be the week after in there. Okay. That 12-week mastermind is actually going to kick off. Here it is right here. Okay. Where he's actually going to break down market insights. So the mastermind is not just continuing education. What the mastermind is really doing. Okay. And again, regarding the mastermind, it's taking you through, okay, the details of trades that he saw the previous week, what he sees coming the next week, why he's sending out particular trades over here. And these trades, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised to see that market conditions, the more wild it gets, the better it's going to be. And that's something that Brandon and I have talked extensively about. So Brandon is probably, in terms of the traders, it's Theo here, more like me than any of us would care to admit, simply because he's he's a big volatility guy. I'm a big volatility guy. We like to take some bearish positions from time to time as well. And if those ghost prints display it, okay, Brandon, are you going to be there to take the bearish positions with me? Okay, hand in hand, Brandon. We're gonna take
I'll
some
be there.
bearish
We'll
positions.
just Thelma Louise. We'll just go off the cliff together.
You know what? I do like my bearish trades, and like people have a tough time with that. Like it's okay.
Yeah.
The reason I'm actually bringing this to fruition is obviously markets are wild right now, and there's some fear in there. This is not a time to be fearful. This is a time to
Well,
actually step in. This is when people make money. This is when traders make money.
well,
You
I
know.
think going into December, right? I mean, there's people that didn't like the election. Some people really liked it, but retail traders were piling into the market after the last election. And when you start to talk and mention downside risks, they don't want to hear it, right? Because why? They're scared, right? They don't know what to do if not that. And so with this, it's really going to help you change your thought process a little bit because you're following the flow of money, right? You're seeing this stuff going behind the scenes, and you're not afraid because you know what to look for next, right? I mean, stuff's moving around, and you have a chance to play in this two-way market.
Yeah, the other thing in here is probably the best part of the 12-week mastermind. And by the way, I fully appreciate this. Stay accountable. So in all the trades that I do, okay, I'm completely accountable for every trade because I've got like 5,000 people watching the trades. The exact same thing is going to be true over here. So Brandon, each week he'll have to explain himself for every single trade that he does. It's also going to keep you accountable, and that's absolutely critical in this business. Is you got to limit some of the stupid things you're going to do, and that's exactly what Brandon is going to help you with. By the way, does that sound relative to anybody? Because we've all done it. You sit behind your computer like, I know this is something I probably shouldn't do, but
Yeah.
I'm going to do it anyway. We all do it. And by the way, it's one of the best parts. I know that sounds so ridiculous. Like one of the best parts of actually doing this, okay, like live, is nobody is more accountable than, Brandon, myself, because we have thousands of people that are ultimately trading along with us.
Yeah.
So, by the way, admitting it's the first step. You ever did anything stupid in the marketplace?
Right.
Admitting it is the first step.
I,
This is
I
20.
was thinking
Yeah,
that Tommy Boy scene. It's like, we're gonna do lots of dumb stuff together. No, I mean, we're gonna do some smart stuff here too. But the idea is we're gonna be talking about this every week and every day in chat too. So
so this is a $2,500 value. By the way, just to give you guys some of the dates. I wanted to actually throw out the dates for this. It's very, very definitive. I want to make sure, like, look, not everybody can always make it. Everything is recorded. Every spoken word on Theo Trade is recorded. And okay, of course, you've got a community, which I'm going to bring up. So I'm leaving this up here for just 1 second to make sure that everybody actually sees all of the dates, all of the times, okay, associated with this, so that we all understand. Like, again, if you can't make a date, right? This is actually great, by the way, Brandon, because I don't think we've ever laid this out quite as cleanly. Okay, I from time to time, do events over here. He's got every single date laid out. Like you're going to know right now, I can't make May 13th. It's okay. Okay, that thing is going to be recorded. And if you missed the session, it's recorded. You can fire, emails off and so forth regarding any of the trades over there. By the way, again, it's theotrade.com/ghost. Somebody was asking again of that. Oh, somebody said on the 8th, what time? It's 3 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, so it's 3 p.m. Eastern time on the 8th. That's actually the class, 3 p.m. Eastern time. And then the mentorships are also going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern time, which is actually a great time to do it, man, because you still market open, market's blazing. Okay, so if you're going to fire trades, it's
Yeah.
a damn good time to do it. By
We
the way,
we
that's
just we just
that's
see the
my time.
confirmation right for the close. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. All right, onward. Okay. Ghost Prince chat. Like, I'm going to spend a moment on this because I tend to overlook it. Everybody right now is inside of a chat room. You guys are communicating. Okay. Everybody can see you're communicating in there. You're going to be able to communicate with our other clientele in here. You're going to be able to communicate with Brandon at any time. So it's a community exclusively though for Ghost Prince. And we do that, okay, specifically so you can you can communicate. But moreover, it's so that Brandon can get a feel, he can get some feedback, either you talking amongst yourselves or you actually talking directly to Brandon over here. That is incredibly important to us. You're going to be able to trade with the group, okay? Everybody sees stuff differently. And that's okay. Like, everybody sees stuff differently. Like, we argue even amongst ourselves at Theo, but it's actually displaying what you see differently, okay, and coming to a conclusion that is so critical in this business. There's got to be like a resolution that, the group actually is like, all right, I see this completely differently, but yeah, you're right. Like, and the Ghost Prince actually confirm it. Okay. This is going to give you live chat access. You're going to be able to discuss setups. And what happens is Brandon will fire out a trade. Brandon knows when he fires out a trade, right? And then he sits in the room and be like, okay, here everybody comes. And there's going to be I don't know, I think it's about I think we're limiting to 100 people, okay, in this particular 90-day challenge for Ghost Prince. And 100 people it's a lot. It's going to be a lot to handle over here. So live access to chat. You're going to be able to discuss setups, anything you want. And you can actually discuss some of the scans too. And again, stop trading alone. It's high level, okay, discussion over here. You don't have to be an options super geek though to be in here. And that's something I'm going to mention before I go any further. You don't have to be an options super geek to be in here. Okay. You can trade with the brokerage firm of your choice. There was like a scan in here on Thinkorswim. You don't have to have it. It's okay. You do not have to have the scan, because the irony is he's actually going to be posting the results of those scans, okay, pretty continuously. I mean, that's where the trades are ultimately coming from, is the results of those scans. So that's not going to be incredibly like important for you guys to be able to get a feel for, like, oh, I don't have this scan, I'm not in the Thinkorswim. It's fine. Okay. By the way, it was kind of ironic. Brandon was going through, he was actually using Tasty for a lot of the trades. It was using Tasty. I also saw him with screenshots of like Thinkorswim. Okay. Yeah, we use those two platforms because, first of all, like, I like to say this, like, Brandon and myself kind of grew up together, like, been working together for like over 15 years or so. Those are the platforms. We ran Thinkorswim. Okay. And then, obviously the founder of Thinkorswim left and built Tasty. And so we kind of have both platforms. You don't have to have either one of those. Somebody's gonna be like, "Well, I have Robinhood." All right, it ain't great, but all right, I'll let you slide by on that one. But most of the stuff you're going to be able to do pretty much in any trading application, and everything that you do can be done in an IRA. So this is another $1,000 value, just giving you access to the chat room, and I absolutely love it. By the way, there's a 90-day money back guarantee. I'm going to throw this up here, but before I go any further, I'm going to read off some names, and this is names of individuals. I just want everybody to see. Okay, these are individuals that have enrolled. We see that you've actually enrolled. The 90-day money back guarantee obviously is applicable to you, and I'm throwing it up there. But some of the names, excuse me: Katrina H. from Oklahoma, Ron W. from Ohio, Colin C. from Alaska, Larry W. from Utah, Dennis T. from Pennsylvania, Bob M. from Montana, William C. from Massachusetts, David P. from Ohio, John P. from Ohio, Robert R. from Virginia, Dennis A. from Utah, okay, Lawinder S. from Missouri, David Z. from New York, and Arturo C. from Texas. That's just the first batch of names that I'm seeing coming through. And I'm just letting you guys know, it takes me about 5 to 7 minutes before I actually see your name come through. You'll start receiving email accessibility, okay, almost immediately. I'm just letting you guys know it can take a few minutes. And you'll receive an email, obviously that's giving you accessibility into into Brandon's room over here, specifically for ghost prints. So there's a 90-day money back guarantee. Okay. Ghost prints, okay, just it's risk free. And the one thing I say about like risk free, and I always say this about like Theo trades, like we need and want people that want to be here. Okay. You got to want to be here, and that's important. If you don't see the edge in your trading, okay, we refund it. It's $1,000. Okay. It's no gimmicks, no fine print. There's none of that. Okay. And again, need a refund, you just email us. That's it. You don't have to do a little dance, make a little love, get down tonight. Like, I've gotten out of gym memberships before, and like a gym membership, you're like, oh, you have to give blood to like, you got to go down there. Okay, here, okay. It's not like that. You just email support@theotrade.com and get a refund if it's not for you. We get it. Like sometimes life gets in the way. Stuff comes up, life gets in the way, and I get it. Okay. But I think everybody should check it out because what he's actually finding in here is pretty insightful. I'm actually excited about this one because we've been using Brandon for years, okay, in the background over here. And the question only came up recently, like, why is this not something that we're sharing every single day? It's kind of something that we've been sharing internally for years. Brandon is our go-to trader, okay, for size input. What that basically means when I say size input, order flow input. I hate to use the term order flow. It's such like a institutional, commentary in there. But Brandon's our go-to guy for institutional order flow insight. He always has been. Can we say like, hey, did you see this print, of 80,000 contracts go off in the spiders? Be like, yeah, but that was due to a dividend. I'm like, oh, okay, that's no problem, no problem. And there's aspects like that that come up constantly. All right, so everything everything that's in this 90-day challenge here. So you're getting 2 to 3 high probability trade alerts a week. Okay, Ghost Prints custom TOS scanner. All right, 2-hour live masterclass. I mean, the 2-hour live masterclass alone, okay, to me is worth the cost of admission. And again, you can still, like, people always ask this question, so I'll hit this, and you can go to the 2-hour live masterclass, and if it's not for you, I get it. Okay, I think people should trade with us for a period of time. I mean, you've got 90 days, and this is, then there's a 12-week mastermind after that. Okay, you got to learn this stuff. Okay, learn and trade alongside Brandon. Then you got Ghost Chat. And by the way, I put a lot of weight into the Ghost Chat over here. Okay. And the last thing I'm going to talk about over here is email access. Okay. And it's something that I don't think we often mention enough here at Theo Trade. We give you full email accessibility, and that is incredibly important as well. Basically, what I'm saying is you got a question, email. That's it. Okay. Brandon will, love me for saying this, but Brandon should be answering 4 hours of email every single day. If he's not, there's something wrong. Okay. We all do that. That's the lifeblood of what we do. The one thing that you guys got to understand, like today, like if I go back 10, 15 years ago, does everybody here remember like 10, 15 years ago, there was a big, commercial that was always on TV, talk to Chuck. They're talking about Charles Schwab, right? Talk to Chuck. Okay. I got to be honest with you. Chuck ain't answering the phone. Neither is anybody else. None of these brokerage firms answer the phone. I mean, nobody answers the phone. You call up like the power company, they're like, nah, okay, you ain't got no power. Your phone's going to run out. Nobody, okay, helps with it. We do. We will give you, okay, that email support. And I'm going to tell you right now, that includes trade related questions. You got a question on a trade, you don't have to say like, my roommate's dog has a question about a trade. It doesn't have to be a hypothetical. Fire some trade ideas at us. It's okay. All right. Most of us have carried many, many different brokerage licenses. We know, okay, how to answer these questions properly. Okay. And we're not afraid to do so. So you've got unlimited email access. And that to me is a huge bonus. I think it's worth, the cost of admission just for email access to be able to bounce ideas off of. Because in this kind of a marketplace, okay, a mistake is going to cost you more than $1,000. Don't make the mistake. Check with him first. Don't make the mistake. Check with him first. Okay. Your goal is obviously, okay, to produce 50% in 90 days using the same method that Brandon uses. So with that, why most traders really miss these moves. They react too late. By the time the moves start to happen, okay, it's over. Like the trades are over. They trade on news instead of signals. Okay. Trading on news is like, it's impossible now. Somebody tweets instantaneously, it moves markets. Okay. And the other thing is like people look, they just don't know where to look for this stuff. So the next trade could be one that, you'll never forget. So stop chasing the trades after the fact. Okay. Look for some of the signals of these ghost prints. And again, Brandon, if you would, um, to give us a little bit more insight on this, when I say, start seeing the market's hidden signals first, okay. Um, in terms of trade alerts, are you looking at anything right now, Brandon? Like anything in particular? I'm not
Yeah.
asking you
So
for an alert right now, but
yeah.
today is a perfect day to actually discuss this. I know obviously we're on here, I guess the first hour
Yeah.
almost today, so
Well, I
you haven't
mean,
even had time to look.
there were a couple of significant ones this week. I think that the bearish ghost prints on XLF on Wednesday. And then yesterday we saw a lot of bullish prints, ghost prints in gold, silver, Siboney, SBSW, and actually TLT yesterday. So, TLT is higher today, but there was a rather sizable print on TLT yesterday for a May 92. And so again, you have these opportunities to say, okay, hey, yeah, TLT's down. Here's a big print. We're kind of in a two-way market right now. So the idea is it's down. It may go up in the next 30 days. So again, that gives you kind of a tip off to say, hey, maybe I'll step in today going long call or call vertical or buying a TLT for a near-term, short-term trade.
By the way, I like what it says on here. Like one trade could pay for this entire program. The funny thing is too, just chatting with people inside of the chat room
Mm-hmm.
is going to cover the cost. Like this is going to keep people out of also some bad trades. I know that we always look to the positive side, and I'm totally about that. And like, oh, let's make 50% in 90 days. Okay,
Yeah.
but I'm also in the side of this marketplace. When things start getting a little crazier over here, you need people to talk to. You need a
Yeah.
Brandon. You need myself, and we're going
Well,
to be there. And
and
that's
I'm gonna be in and
yeah
out of chat all day, right? I mean, so the
yeah.
idea is I'll be checking in there. So I mean, if you want to email me, yes. If you want to chat at me, right? So and I like the chat function is if you have a question, it's likely someone else has the same question. So we have a chance to talk about it. I can create little videos and stuff to post in there just to help you with your process.
Yeah, so join obviously Ghost Prince 90-day trader challenge now. Look, I bought 20 puts and sold for over 100% profit. Thanks, Brandon. That actually comes from Tom Dickerson. All right, a little bit of Q&A over here. And before I go too detailed into the Q&A, a couple of other names over here. Homero M from Indiana, Joe B from Arizona, Larry B from Idaho, Tom M from Vermont, Market L from Texas, Robert R from Texas, Martin P from Florida, Edward O from Arizona, Timothy T from Georgia. So still, again, it takes me about 5 to 7 minutes before I see your name actually populating here on our backend system. But I'm going to answer some generalized questions, and then we'll take some specific questions in here as well. All right, with that, people always ask what you need to get started. I left this in here. You need a laptop, internet connection. Truth is, you really don't even need a laptop anymore. So I trade, okay, a huge amount off of my mobile device. Okay. Not only can you trade off the mobile device, you can actually access our chat rooms off the mobile device as well. So have at it. Like you don't have to have a laptop, okay, anymore. If you're comfortable off of mobile device, I think some of the print is a little bit small in there, but nevertheless, you can absolutely trade everything that we do now. You can trade off of your mobile device. Personally, I prefer like, a tablet like an iPad or something, but you don't have to have 6 screens up and getting crazy with it. The other thing that's important about this is you don't have to be tied, okay, to a monitor. Like again, I want to say that again, you don't have to be tied to a monitor throughout the course of the day. You don't sit there all day and drooling on yourself, be like, is he coming? Is he coming? Is he coming? Is he coming? Okay. So 2 to 3 trades like in a week. Let's get crazy. Let's say you miss one of them. You're driving somewhere. I don't want you pulling off the side of the road. Like it doesn't, look, there'll be another one. Okay. The greatest thing is like you think about like, this 90-day, challenge and 12 weeks of the mastermind over there. Okay. going to be with you. It's okay. There'll be more than enough trade. Okay. More than enough trade. So next, this is not a membership. Everybody always asks that. We do not auto renew. Okay. We do not auto renew after that 90 days. Okay. All right. A couple more names in here and then I'll jump back over there. I think I got Thomas N from Arizona, Mark C from California, Roger E from California. Did I get those? I don't know. I'm getting them now. So again, Thomas N from Arizona, Mark C from California, Roger E from California, Ron M from Illinois, John G from Michigan, Dick M from Illinois, Richard C from Canada. Okay. I'm just, again, reading off names. By the way, if you're in Canada and you've got questions about, brokerage firms that are most effective, feel free to email us. Okay. I can tell you it's a little bit, more challenging when you're, a resident Canadian, simply just based on which brokerage firms are most effective. Okay, and we can definitely help you out with that. That's something that we're good at. We came from that industry. So all right, next in the docket here, you get weekly alerts, video updates. You can follow all the moves that Brandon's going to make in Ghost Prints. So weekly alerts and video updates. So outside of everything that he's doing, he's actually giving you like updates on a weekly basis. Like, hey, this is why I did the trade, in, for instance, Apple. This is why I did the trade, in Google. We saw this particular ghost print over here. Okay. That's incredibly important to us that we keep you updated. But it's more about just an update of a trade. It's insights, okay, to why he did the trade. Okay. So number 4, you're going to get access, okay, to the Ghost Prince room. That's what I was talking about. That's actually why I'm reading off some of the names. I'm reading off some of the names so that you guys actually know, like, we see you, okay? You're going to get an email, and if you don't get that email, check your spam folder, okay? Because it's important. That's exactly why I'm reading off the names in here. Also, thank you for those of you that are enrolling for it too. And you'll be, thanking Brandon here in a few trading sessions as he starts to fire out trades. So you get access to the Ghost Prince room, and I mean, he'll be in there later today. You start asking some preliminary questions and so forth. Again, let some of the smoke clear. It's pretty wild out there right now, right? So let some of the smoke clear, okay? And we'll start proceeding slowly into trades even next week, okay? Very slowly into trades next week. So Aaron A from Arkansas, Stephen P from North Carolina, William C from Germany, Joyce B from Ohio, Paul H from Alabama, Stephen T from New York, okay? Nandish, I'm going to butcher this, Nand Kishore P from Minnesota. I got that one. I got it, okay? I got you. All right. So you can use any broker to enter Ghost Prints. I've already mentioned that a couple of times. You can also use retirement accounts to enter Ghost Print trades. So anything we're doing in here, you can do inside of a retirement account. That's important. Okay. You can email us anytime, receive the response within 24 hours. So here's where, again, we put a lot of weight, obviously, into the accessibility, okay, of everybody here at TheoTrade, including myself. If you need something, okay, you let us know. We respond to emails by far and away the easiest way to get a hold of us. Okay. I am very forthright. Okay. I would never pick up a phone. Like, I know that sounds terrible, like this, like the generation, like nobody ever picks up a phone. The reason I don't pick up a phone, I'm usually in front of my screens. I would rather, okay, email off the side of my screen right now. I'm looking at my emails as they pile up right now. That's okay. We'll get back to you. We'll get back to you within 24 hours. Like, don't email us like 5 minutes to go on a Friday afternoon. You're like, okay, everybody calm down. Just email us. We'll get back to you as fast as we possibly can. All right. Even T from New York. Already got you there. Wait. Anthony B from Florida, Kelly L from Oklahoma, and Kenneth S from Florida. Okay. There's 100 spots available. And we do that to obviously incentivize people, okay, to enroll for this. We also do that specifically because there's one Brandon. There is one Brandon, and there's about to be 100 of you. That is more than okay. Okay. And if Brandon does need help, if there's 100 people and everybody's firing emails at him every single day, that is no problem whatsoever. Okay. Because what we actually do is we'll bring in myself, we'll bring in Blake Young. Okay, we've got plenty of other instructors to actually help. We have depth on our bench. Look, get results, take action, enroll for Ghost Prints now. There's no risk to you. Again, it's theotrade.com/ghost. I wanted to also reiterate the phone number in here. So that's important to me that people know there are some people that are just not comfortable necessarily, doing something online. It's 623, or they have questions, 623-244-5657. Okay. Again, that's 623-244-5657. Again, there's a strict enrollment deadline, obviously, given the fact that there's a class coming up. If you scroll towards the bottom of this screen, though, this is the actual enrollment form. Okay. So remember, email address, valid phone number, those are critically important over here. A few more names, and we're going to wrap things up. If there's questions in here, Brandon is actually typing the answers to those questions. So I don't want to eat too much of anybody's time over here, but David Y. from Tennessee, Jose G. from Florida, Michael P. from Indiana, Jeff G. from Texas. I want to thank everybody that actually tuned in live with us today, because I do appreciate it. Okay. Again, it's taking time out of your schedule over here. If you go to theotrade.com/ghost, if you have any other questions, you can actually hit us inside of the chat rooms. We are here to answer those. Thanks, everybody, on behalf of myself, everybody at TheoTrade, obviously, Brandon Chapman. Brandon, thank you so much for actually presenting, okay, finally over here, what these ghost prints are. Critically important, obviously, to the order flow of today's marketplace. So thanks,
Don.
Brandon. Yep.
No,
Thanks,
thanks, Don.
everybody.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.